And I've got completion right here online.
All right. Let's see now.
I want to unmute here. So,
Good evening.
good evening. Can you hear us okay, Janice?
Yeah.
Great, thank you for the sound check. Al, here. The owl, you've got your own camera going. You have to switch the camera over. The owl.
Were you speaking to me, Reg?
No, I was speaking to Carol.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So in the video, there's a little carrot there. So the owl isn't being shown there. It's not showing there.
Is my video working?
So we are bringing back our commitment to consistent low prices and passing the savings on to you. Is starting at consistent low prices every day. Do you know someone who backs around the truth?
Now, the sound.
Who makes all the difference? Trust back where each relationship matters.
Huh? Let me see if I.
The benefit of this partnership is that patients can get the advanced care. Services can include anything from the brain to the spine, things that.
Now, plug in, you know, a little bit there. There it is. So you know what? You changed the password on the room. It doesn't have a password for the. Yeah. So that's the problem here. So that's the problem here. And that's the problem here. And so the way you do the
Maybe they like that we've been around for over a what really matters is that one person who makes all the difference. Rockland Trust Bank, where each relationship matters.
And I think you have your money gone there. That's the other reason why you're getting it's your feedback. So
40% of the residents claim family ties to the NHA and consider the Irish Riviera to stretch from Braintree down to Kingston. Kevin Clancy is from Galway. The rest of our a week in this country. Very fortunate. From there, said this is where we want to be. We started our family, very, very fortunate. All the pieces started coming together in our lives. Clancy's biggest gripe was that he had to travel 36 miles from Kingston to Boston to get his favorite Irish food. I used to look around and like, those Irish all around me. And I thought, I have to change. My wife would laugh and she'd say,
Can you guys see me?
So in July of 2023, the Clancy's opened the Galway Girl Irish shop in Duxbury.
If you're Irish, or if you've been to Ireland, it's going to be a trip down memory lane. It's going to be nostalgia, memories, and items you won't find.
Can you guys see me though? I don't think the video is working. I don't know why. Huh? No, it says it's on. Oh, now I am upside down? I don't know how to fix it. Huh? I don't know how to be not upside down.
Liz, can you mute yourself? Where am I going? Making you the host. Did you do it? No. Make host.
Okay, Margarita. So again, you gotta get your. Okay. You still are coming through. Testing.
I lost you for a minute. I'm back though.
How's that? I think that did it. I don't know why you're upside down, Liz.
Liz, I would suggest you dial dial in again and we'll see if that corrects the problem.
I just left and redialed in right now.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't see me anywhere on here though. My video's on.
I'm going to see if we can. Did you make me a co-host? You
I
must
made
have,
you the
yeah,
host.
right. You made me
Yeah.
the host. Okay, so I'm going to stop your video and then start it again here.
Okay.
And,
That looks like it did it,
well,
almost,
she's
right side up at
now I
least.
have to find her. And Elizabeth Fay. I need to
I think I.
ask to
turned it-
start by video. Now see, go ahead and see if you can turn it back on, Elizabeth.
Nope.
I
You're
hit
on
start
upside
video.
down. What device are you looking at using right now?
Laptop.
A laptop, okay. It's something to do with your laptop
It's your
then.
camera
Yeah.
somehow
That's reversed, so we won't be able to correct that. And we're already sort of a
late.
half an hour late starting the meeting, so
If
I
you want to
think-
turn your camera off, that's fine. We know what you look like.
yeah, I think that's probably
Okay.
the right thing to
At
do.
the time.
I turned it off.
So Janice, we have Janice here. Is everybody ready after, I think, a new record
Late.
tech support snafu? I don't know what else we can call it here at this point. But we do have some important business to get, so maybe to get to, so maybe we can make up for lost time here. I just want to say apologies to anybody and everybody in the audience. We have 3 attendees. Sue and Calpan are there and MK. So we'll just start the meeting now, and I'm going to call the meeting of the Needham Housing Authority Board of Commissioners to order, a regular monthly meeting, our first of 2024. I think we have nowhere but up to go from here so far, you know. So I have to call the roll because we have a virtual commissioner here with us. So Reg Foster is here. Ed Scheidler is here.
Penny Kirk is here. Janice Bennett present.
And Eleanor Evans is not here because she had surgery earlier this week, and we wish her the best. But we do have a quorum of 4 commissioners. And I just want to declare that this meeting is a hybrid meeting as authorized by Governors Baker's and Governor Healy's extension of the open meeting law until March 31, 2025. It allows us to do that, although hopefully we'll do it better the rest of the year. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided by the Secretary of the Needham Housing Authority by posting a public notice dated January 12th and on that date, 2024, with the town clerk's office. We are here. I have only one announcement to make tonight. And for those folks that haven't heard it, but Commissioner Eleanor Evans, whose term is up this spring, has, for personal reasons, decided not to rerun for the commissioner position that she's occupying. I think some people have come to hear about that. This is the first time we've had a chance to hear it as a board and together here. And I'm sorry about that because I think Eleanor was, always a voice of calm and reason and rationality and just, is going to be greatly missed here. So
Strong contributor.
So anybody out in the audience there, that is an open seat. We have heard that there is one gentleman running around, very good person, has pulled papers and in fact is soliciting signatures via his associates here tonight. And just for everybody's information, it's mid-February that you have to be nominated and have at least 50 valid signatures of Needham voters. Usually it's a better idea to have 75 or 100 in case some get disallowed by the town clerk's office, and those papers are due mid-February. And you can find the exact date on the town clerk's website, so that's too bad. So we're at Residents Association input. Sue, do you have anything you need to contribute or wanted to contribute? Can Sue allowed to talk? All right.
Now you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Hi, Sue.
Okay. Hi, Janice. Hi, Margarita. Hello, everybody. Cheryl and Reg and all you good folks. First of all, just as a plain resident, I want to remind you that at the family self-sufficiency is going to be presenting a presentation on budgeting and counseling with the American Consumer Credit Counseling group, company, organization. And I will say that I have used this organization before and they were fantastic. As a matter of fact, I've gotten permission from Elena to invite some folks who are non-residents because they need help just as much as the residents do. So that's going to be January 27th at Captain Robert Cook Drive in the old office. And that's going to be, I think it's 12:30 to 1:30. And it's going to be the same day, Linden Chambers, I believe from 11 to 12 or something like that. So I encourage, and I'm thinking a gentle reminder to everybody should go out a couple of days in advance anyway. And as a resident organization board member, in order to try to get our board, our organization to rise from the ashes like the phoenix, I have made arrangements for an in-person meeting with Ben, can't pronounce his last name yet, from Mass Union, to meet with Cheryl Gosman and Jessica Reese and myself to see what the heck we can do to really motivate these residents to an important part of our housing authority and community. I've heard too many awful things about other resident organizations that they're not doing the right thing, and we cannot be part of that. So, and my last thing is, I'm hoping, because I sent out the webinar that Mass Union did about grievances. They did have to cut some things out, but it's a wonderful, wonderful webinar. And I'm actually waiting on Lisa from Mass Union to send me the transcript of it. So I sent it out probably about 2 weeks ago. And it's really worth sitting down and listening to get exactly what the grievance policy is. And I understand that tonight they did include, without names and faces, a role playing. And it happened to be about a person in another town that had a major problem, and it's excellent. So I highly recommend that you sit down for an hour or so and watch it. If you don't have it, I can resend it. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I hope you guys stay safe driving tonight and all that good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sue. Appreciate it. Does any other resident online or member of public online want to comment or have anything to say? If so, raise your hand. Ross, do you have anything?
Yes, thank you very much. Ross Donald, 25H Chambers Street. Just a couple of things. We're working on the nomination and election procedures for the restart of the local tenants organization. And glad to hear that Ben has come. He's been very helpful. We have the translations of the forms, but we need to update them. If Margarita's here, thank you. I see you shaking your head. So once that's actually finalized, it can go out. We did change the dates. So the nomination period will be through February, and the election will be sometime after March 11th. So we'll have 5 weeks there to do the 30-day period, plus getting the final ballot put together. We're going to use the box here, this is a suggestion box over there, that's owned and locked by the housing authority, so we'll be able to use that as a ballot box. Let's see, I'm a little concerned about how things get scheduled. The calendar seems to get posted after the events. We used to have the first Thursday of the month being a blood pressure clinic, and that's been canceled, and seemed to be a little bit of a confusion over who was paying for that, and how it got canceled. From who's the actual implementer of it, but to have it be canceled, I think the residents rely on a consistent kind of schedule. If something is first Thursday of the month after month, every month, and then it gets canceled for no reason, it's a little disconcerting. So we'd like to work on that, as well as just information in general. The video record is way behind as far as being posted. I mean, it might be someplace, but I don't know where it is. And a lot of people can't go to all the meetings, so if they can't make this meeting because they're at Powers Hall doing something else, we really should be able to make the video available for people that are interested. Let's see. Well, that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll dive in and see if we can knock off some of these agenda items quickly here. We have 3 sets of minutes, of which I think we've received 2 of them. Is that right? And but we received them.
Bill pay.
Bill pay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
See, I'm throwing off my rhythm here, but yeah, let's do A, review and approve our NHA bill schedule and check warrant, $478,164.94. That has found in great detail and very informative detail in our world record board packet that was 169 pages or something like that long. Does any commissioners have any comments or questions about that? Go ahead.
Cheryl, do you know, and you may not know, why some charges, for example, on page 7, we're showing the, oh my glasses, I'm sorry. We're showing a monthly rent payment of $6,070.
Yes.
And it's not listed in the purchase order log on
Right.
page 6.
Right.
So some of the items that show up on these following pages do show up on the purchase order log.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering,
Why that is.
yes,
Okay.
thank you.
So that payment to the $6,000 is a payment to our landlord.
Right,
We make that through an HCH payment. It's an
Okay.
online payment. We don't create a PO for that. We pay them directly on time every month, the first of the month. We create purchase orders when we anticipate an expense and when we don't have a contract. So that purchase order log are those types of expenses.
okay.
Yeah.
So are all of the ACH payments are not a part of that process?
This particular one, we sort of earmark it, point it out because it is our rent payment. We pay it to that landlord. But we have to set up HCH payments with the bank. So not everything gets paid that way to the bank. We do a check run. We do pay mass housing through an HCH payment. Um, uh, and, those really are the two, accounts that, are paid that way.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I guess the information is here in the board packet, I would
Mhm.
guess, because technically we're approving the
yes.
payment of it.
Okay.
Oh, let me wait until, Ed is listening here.
I thought I remembered seeing a list of ACH payments, but I don't find it here.
Ed, what I was saying is I think, we are technically approving the rent payment as part of this vote that we're doing,
Right.
but it's just not listed as a check on the check
Got it.
register or something like that. And actually, I don't think we even have a choice of approving the rent payment, even if the board didn't approve the rent payment, the executive director would probably pay it anyway, so, you know, because it's not exactly like, we're not exactly, you know, we're locked into paying that rent. For a year anyway, we have an out in that. I'll remind everybody, we have, you know, we can give a 1 year notice and move somewhere else if we want to. Yeah, so. Any other questions?
Nope, not that.
Okay, hearing none, I will, entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
I made a motion to approve and Penny second, I guess. And are there any other comments? I will call the roll. Reg Foster says aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk, aye.
Janice? Janice, you're on mute there. Although I'm getting.
Hi, sorry,
Expert on
wanted-
liquid reading.
Okay, I actually wanted to make it a little bit of a clarification for Ed, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, Ed, I've lived here for 24 years. I paid most of my bills by check, but when it came to the rent, I always paid it by money order because I didn't want to save 24 years of bank statements, but I could save the one money order receipt.
All
If
right.
that's
Okay.
any clarification to the way the
Explains
rent's being
everything, I
paid.
think. Yep. So let's move on to the High Rock Homes LLC bill schedule and check warrant of $63,407.23. Do we have any questions from the commissioners on that warrant? Hearing none, I will make a motion that we, you have something to say? Yeah.
So I just wanted to point out on the High Rock warrant where you see that $16,000, that's an ACH payment for our mortgage for Mass Housing. For the mortgage payment for High Rock Homes.
Great.
High Rock is, yeah. High Rock Homes.
And then, you know, one day we may do a lot more of it. From time to time,
love to do more, yeah.
we've talked about moving into the 21st century and getting out of the check writing and moving and signing business.
Yeah.
But we don't have the bandwidth really to figure out how to do
No,
that
we're
quite yet.
actually, we're setting up the technology now as we speak. That's more of a secure way. There's a lot of fraud happening now with checks and whitewashing, they call it. So we're really working closely with our bank, Citizens Bank, to have a more secure process.
So there you go. We've been talking about it for years.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the year. Also, in the town manager's office, a mail is being stolen out of the mailboxes. So, you know, it probably is time for us to move on.
Yeah.
Speaking of moving on, I think we can call the vote there. So, Reg Foster says aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk, aye. Janice Bennett, aye.
And so that passes unanimously, and we move on now to the minutes. So we received another set of minutes earlier today. I myself did not have a chance to look them over here. I don't know about the other commissioners. What's the sense of the commissioners? Do they want to, I really just didn't have a chance.
I have no question.
Yeah.
I thought they were fine.
And how about you, Janice? Do you want to approve them
They were
tonight?
fine with me. I have to admit, I skimmed them, but I didn't see anything. I was looking for something. I didn't see anything, so.
Great. So those are the minutes of 10:30, no, there was 12:07 and 12:14, right? And let me just tell you what the special board meeting on the 30th of October was a one-issue board meeting, which was to approve the application that needed to go in for the Public Housing and Innovations Fund,
In
I believe,
October.
in October.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those minutes were not included in this, submission.
Right. So, the number 2 and number 3 are sort of our more important minutes where we approve the budget for this year. And it's probably a good idea we're doing it tonight. So can I hear a motion from somebody who did have a chance to review the minutes?
move.
To
I
approve
second.
we're talking about the, minutes of our budget meeting 12/7/2023. And we have a second. Any further discussion? I'll call the roll. Reg Foster says aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk, aye. Janice Bennett, aye.
They are approved unanimously, and we'll do the minutes of the regular monthly meeting on the 14th of December, 2023. Do I hear a motion to approve? And do I have a second?
I second.
Second.
So motion by Penny, second by Ed. I'll call the roll. Reg Foster says aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Janice, aye. Janice Bennett, aye.
Okay, we're at another record executive director report tonight for us here, so. But we're moving, we got some momentum going here, so.
And I sent the management report out late this afternoon or early this morning. I think it was 10:30 this morning.
The November one.
The November one, right?
What was in the packet was the October one.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it here.
And Rick was not well. He was ill, but he got this out to me right away today. And so you have it with you. And I don't know if there are any questions.
I have not had a chance to review it.
That's there. I have extra copies if any.
So if anybody does have some questions, I would suggest that you email them to Cheryl and she can probably answer them directly.
Thank you.
So, shall we go on to the next
Yeah.
agenda item?
So let's move on. We're moving on to monthly management report. That is our work order vacancy report. I'm not sure if there are any questions on that.
Any questions from the commissioners?
We're on page 48.
What do you want?
I have one question while people are finding it, which is, after a long string of months where there were 0 work orders, outstanding at the end of the month, this month we had quite a few.
Quite a few. They were heat related work orders, and some clogging. We continue to have a problem with clogged toilets and things like that. But most of the work orders were heat related work orders.
In any one development or just all over the place?
All over the place, Linden, Chambers, Seabed's Way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The ones that we are actually modernizing and
Yes.
improving?
Yes, yes.
Well, that's good to hear, I
Yeah.
guess, or not good to hear, but
Yeah.
that we're doing something there.
Very busy month.
Okay, any other questions on,
I have a question on page 49. I just need to know, there's a statement here for, each designation of
Waiting list?
units.
Yeah.
And what, the waiting list, yeah, what,
Mhm.
and every single one except the last one has a waiting list for transfers. And, is that, there are those many people who want to transfer and why?
So the first federal elderly / disabled waiting list, 1 bedroom, there's a total of 120 applicants
Right.
on that list, and there are 5 administrative transfers. So those are just current residents that want, that need, these are 2 bedrooms, folks that would go into that 1 bedroom unit.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh.
And then, in the family, I see where it's not clear, and I apologize for that. The family waiting list, federal family waiting list, there are 40 applicants on that list. And there are 5 people on that waiting list who go, from a, 3 bedroom into a 2 bedroom. I'm saying that right.
Okay, so this indicates that people are overhoused or.
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
It's not that they
And,
just want to move to another.
right, right. There are too many people, not enough bedrooms for the number of adults in the
Yeah.
home.
Okay.
And then, there are people on the 3-bedroom, there are 28 folks on our family, waiting list.
Yeah.
And 2 people are waiting for an administrative, transfer, 2 people to move into, a 4-bedroom. And then there are 7 people on our 4-bedroom waiting list. And no administrative transfers.
Okay, thank you.
But I'll tighten this up and make it more, easier to read, I think. Yeah.
I have a couple comments. One is to commend you for having this report, but this is the first time since I've been
Okay.
on the board
Thank you.
that we've had
Yes,
this
that's
type of monthly report. And in fact, it was something that Cheryl came up with because we kept getting asked for how big is our waiting list.
Yeah,
With all these funding grants that we're applying for and so forth, people wanted to know how dire the situation was. And we were providing it to these third parties that are evaluating us, and one day the light bulb goes out over Cheryl's head. And it said, boy, should be in our monthly management report, because this is a key metric of, of how much demand there is here. And so I just want to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
I love this report.
Oh, good.
And I have some suggestions for improvement.
Sure,
Two of them is, I immediately started adding them up because I wanted to know how many extremely low income and very low income people there were, 316, because that's the clientele that we serve it.
Yeah.
So, and then, so it would be great to have totals or subtotals somewhere, and then a total of families and individuals that are looking. And then the second thing I thought is, it would be great if next month's would be more of a spreadsheet where you'd have last month's column, this one we just had here,
So we
with the
can see the change.
subtotals, and then this month's, and we can see whether things are getting worse or better.
Yeah.
Something, does that make sense,
Yeah.
my comment?
Yeah.
But this is, a really great thing that you've done here, and I just want to appreciate it. All right, any other comments or questions for any of let's just open it up to all the management reports.
Yeah. And.
Anybody?
so I just wanted to point out on page 54, I can't really read any of it. I don't know if that's totally necessary, but just the copy I got was.
Yeah, it didn't come through clear. Yeah, that did not go to the public.
Mine is okay here.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Mine's fine.
Yes, I was able to redact Ross's copy. So that you don't really see the names, yeah. I actually went over his with a black marker,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think I was using whiteout on that and it
Oh, I see.
And
probably
it's-
just got.
If it hadn't dried and
it
got
hadn't
stuck,
dried,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all done that before.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
other comments or questions? I have one other one. I just wanted to,
Mhm.
page 48, it's the vacancies on
Yeah.
the top there. Sort of seem to be maybe creeping up, but it's
Yeah.
hard to tell, and I wondered if there was anything going on there. That's just natural fluctuation.
No, that is creeping up. 2 of those units do have, 2 of those vacancies do have a waiver. And 2 have the asbestos flooring that takes a little longer to remove and replace with regular flooring. So that's the problems that we're having there. But,
You sort of look year over year,
Yeah.
December 22 to 23, we've sort of gone from 2 or 5 vacancies to 10, so that was.
Yeah, and you see that Matthews House, which we
Mhm.
have 8 units there, we have 2 vacancies there
Yeah.
as well, so. That's a little unusual.
One
Very
reason
unusual.
for us all to be aware of this is you may have seen the newspaper stories over the last month or two or three. There was a Globe Spotlight series that highlighted that there were thousands of vacancies in public housing units. And that, you know, some housing authorities were like 20% vacancy or 10, you know, some way up there. And it caused a major, you know, all hands on deck initiative at what we used to call the HCAD, but now we're calling Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. And they announced a special program and sent out PHN on that to like drive down the vacancies because they were under a lot of criticism. The reason I highlight that for us is our vacancies of even this month has been 3%. So we are well below the part where, you know, there's a whole fire drill going on in many other housing authorities. And we've always been down below, you know, in a well-managed thing. So we're just talking about our concern maybe year over year, I'm asking anyway, relative to our own standard, which is much better than the standard of many other local housing authorities here. So.
And we're charged also, well, so that when, for the state program.
They're not turned over.
They're not turned over. We. are
What's the
assessed
time
for
frame?
fee, 30 days.
30 days, yeah. But we're doing okay. All right, so let's move on.
I have the,
We're at the tenants accounts receivable project. You
Yes.
reported on a initiative last month.
we have updated our rent collection policy and our rent collection procedures. As you can see, we started this in December. And since we've rolled it out, we're collecting a little better, but High Rock Estates 2, which is our project-based Section 8 program, that 88% is just too low. And then we have 6672, 88% is really just too low. So I have actually initiated, and it's in your board packet, a plan to really sort of give our staff more concrete guidance on collecting rent and following our policy to vigorously collect rent. And so we're sending out letters to residents. The policy is in your packet, and I can talk more about that when we get to that point. But I was concerned, I noticed in November that the percentage of collection was lower than 90% on an average. And that concerned me. You know, our income comes from rents and from our subsidy, and that was something that I needed to pay close attention to. So you'll hear more about the policy that we're rolling out to try to stay on top of, to try to reach a goal of 95% or higher of rent collection.
Is this the policy that's on page 69?
Yes.
Well, you're asking for a board vote on that. So
Oh, right.
if you want to, are you?
What about that?
Yeah, if you want to just skip to that agenda item because it goes along with this one here if you
Great.
want to.
Yes, I can certainly do that. 69. Yeah. So, and as I said, you know, we created, if we go to it, it starts on page
69.
69. I've included the current policy as well. And so you can compare the two policies. The amended policy is really just cut to the chase. This is your rent, it's due on the 1st of the month, by the 7th, your rent is late. By the 14th, you know, we will issue a notice. We will also allow residents to contact us and set up a payment plan. We understand that circumstances happen and you fall behind. So we make it clear in the policy that you can contact the office to set up a plan. a payment plan to get caught up. And then there's a sample, letter to residents on page 74. So the goal is to, after, the, 7th of the month, is to, run a rent ledger. And, for those folks that have not paid their rent by the 7th of the month, we'll send out a statement along with the, overdue rent notice letter. And we've gotten some, we've gotten the attention of many. They come in and pay their rent, look at me and give me a little growl, but it's gotten everyone's attention. So we're stepping up our game and becoming a little more vigorous about collecting our rent.
When
Again,
does
we
the
want to be more than,
$25 kick in? When does the $25 late payment kick in?
That happens immediately. They would get a notice if there was a, oh, I'm sorry, Janice, I'm thinking about the, return check. That would kick in at the end of the month, for the first of the
Okay.
month.
Okay, so if a person was, say, in the hospital for 2 weeks, they'd still be good till the end of the month?
Yeah, I mean, we are not gonna send this notice out. We typically know when our residents are not, are not well, and so we wouldn't send them a notice.
Okay,
And we've encountered that.
okay,
Some folks, we knew that they were in the hospital, and so we didn't, we're not flooding them with that, but we're keeping an eye on it.
Any other questions for Cheryl or comments on this rent policy before we take a vote on it?
Well, I read the letter and it seemed to be very compassionate, actually. But I couldn't really see the difference between the old one and the new one.
I think the old one just has too many punitive, if you don't do this, this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
We just went right to the chase. This is when your rent is due, this is when it's late, this is what will happen after the 8th of the month. So I wanted to take out that punitive language and just stick to the fact of what's going on with your rent.
Well, I have no expertise on what's the right tone for a letter like this, but I would 1000% defer to Cheryl's long experience and saying if that's the right way to do it, and just make it more business-like, I guess, and less
business-like.
punitive. Is that what you're sort of saying? And,
Exactly.
I support
I'm
that.
happy, yeah. So, with that said, do I have a motion to approve this policy?
I so move.
Give it to Janice.
Janice moves it and Ed seconds it here. And hearing no further discussion, we will call the roll. Reg Foster approves the policy.
Ed Scheidler votes aye for approval.
Penny Kirk, aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Great. And one of the things I favor, Cheryl, I think this is one of our, maybe not the first, but one of our first is when you do approve, we do approve a policy that you put the date approved by the board on such and so date, certain on the top of every page.
Okay.
And then send out a copy, because I like to keep a collection of those policies, and that also helps me throw away the old policies that no longer apply and, sort of keep current. If anybody ever asks me about it here, so.
And we will be updating our website with the approved policy with the
Yep.
date on the corner, and we'll mail a copy out to every
Great.
resident.
Let's circle back to the order here. Number 5 is staffing update.
So, we are down 2 folks. We do not have a leased housing manager for the federal program, and we do not have a Section 8 coordinator for our Section 8 program. I have contracted with some consultants to help us to keep our Section 8 train moving on time, as well as our federal lease housing program. They've been kind enough to come in on the weekends, and I have someone coming in on Fridays as well. So I think there was something else I wanted to mention about staffing. Hey guys, get back to that. Yeah. And then the other thing too is that we have Elizabeth Fay with us this evening. She is our new resident Ross, Resident Opportunity Self-Sufficiency Service Coordinator. And you hadn't had an opportunity to meet her formally. Her report is in the packet along with her resume and her excellent references. I just want to introduce Liz. She's doing a phenomenal job of working with the Ross program. We have reporting that we have to do to HUD as a required reporting period. And Liz has done a phenomenal job of gathering the data. It's a big data-driven report on everything from soups to nuts, sorry for that term. And Liz has just done a great job of gathering the data so that we can submit the report to HUD by the end of the month. Liz has also met with residents. She has created referral forms. She's met with our community partners, and she's very motivated and enthusiastic about the work that we're providing, or the services that we're providing for residents. So I don't know if anyone would like to say anything.
Liz, I can ask you to turn your video on to see if it's corrected itself, or you can.
I'm looking at her. She looks upright.
Okay.
Oh, I'm good now?
Yeah, you
can
look
see
good.
me?
You look good. You're up there.
Oh, that's
Okay,
Margarita.
okay,
That's
good.
Margarita that you're looking at, I think, right? Or
Yeah.
can you see
Oh
it?
yeah, I'm sorry. It's Margarita.
Oh.
Oh my God.
Let's give it a try, and then we won't make you stand on your head here.
I don't know. I've never had this problem with Zoom before. I'm sorry.
But we are not seeing any video right now. You have to turn on your
No.
video. No,
I just turned it on. It is
but
on.
it's not
Here,
coming
let's try this.
through.
Up,
Yeah.
you're upside down.
That's never happened to me before. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, there
One
you.
of those nights, Liz, don't feel bad. It's very, one of those nights.
Yeah.
Maybe
So-
if you do a handstand and you'll be up.
No way.
On your laptop.
No way.
Yeah, so,
I don't know if anyone has questions for Liz or anything about what she's working on currently.
Just sounds like a real good report as far as what you've achieved so far.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I've also
Yeah.
increased the caseload. When I started it, we had 12 participants and we're up to 18.
Fantastic.
Great.
So I've recruited some new participants in the Ross program while doing the report.
that is amazing. How do you do the recruiting? I must ask you, what is it that you're doing?
Well, so Seabed's Way had a Christmas brunch and I recruited a couple of ladies there. And then I also ended up finding a way to recruit a couple of moms whose children are in the Ross program. And from the way I was speaking about the program, I had a mom join too. So it's that, and it's just word of mouth of the residents I've met with, and I just say let your friends know if you're happy with me so far and things like that. And it's just been working so far and just getting out in the community.
That's great.
Liz, our former Ross coordinators, Kathy Berkeley and Ann DeMonderosian, have been kind enough to go on a tour of community partners with Liz. They've taken Liz around town to introduce her to our community partners. So it's just really been great. I'm really happy with the work that's going on.
Any other staffing updates?
I also just wanted to point out that in your packet are the job descriptions for the leased housing manager and Section 8 coordinator.
Thanks, yes, I
Okay.
saw them.
All right.
So I sent out an email on item number C6, postponing the personnel evaluation and the goal evaluation, setting of the 2024 goals and all that until next month. Because Eleanor couldn't be here, and I really thought it was quite important that we all were together for that. And then also, as the board packet and the number of board agenda items were just like, you know, multiplying exponentially, I figured it wasn't, you know, there wasn't any immediate urgent need to do it this month, and I asked Cheryl if she's okay with that, and she is. That's how we, so we'll
So that.
do that next month. All right, so we've done number 8, and now we're at number 6 and 8, and now we're at number 7.
Yeah.
Smoke-free building policy board vote.
And Liz, I just wanted to say, you didn't have to stay for the whole meeting. You're more than welcome to, but just wanted an opportunity to introduce you to our board.
Okay, thank you. Nice to meet everybody.
Nice
Yeah,
to
get
meet
some
you,
fair-
Liz.
Welcome aboard, thank you.
Okay, so smoke-free building policy, a lot of work has gone into this policy. I've included the red line version from Jonathan. He made significant changes to the policy, which is very helpful to me, even as I was looking through what his suggested changes. He was spot on. One of the things that he did do was take out the enforcement piece of the policy. He says, as the executive director, that's my role to do enforcement, and that my hands shouldn't be tied every time I wanted to change the enforcement strategy, come before the board to update the policy. I'm hoping to partner with the public health department in doing some knock and entry type of enforcement. This means that after a resident would have received a letter and a notice and some educational materials, and they're continuing to smoke in their unit, we are just going to knock and enter and do a check on for signs of smoking in the unit. The public health department certainly will document that. And then the next step would to bring that if we needed to do a court intervention, that we would use this knock and enter documentation from the public health department to bring it to court to demonstrate that this is what we found for this particular resident. One of the other things is to install a smoking machine. And that would, I'm not sure how that's going to be enforced, either through a judge's order or something that we might do. We may do these with our new units to have the smoking machine installed so that, we're notified of any smoke in the unit, any smoking in the unit. So we're still working on that. Probably will go individually for now, but I'm hoping that with our redevelopment and repositioning that we will be able to install these machines building wide.
So this is different from a smoke detector.
It is different from a smoke detector. It's a hardwired type of machine that is connected to the internet. And there's an alarm that would go off when the resident is smoking. Beep, 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 beep. And then you have a record of that. So it doesn't just go off, but it keeps a record of the number of times this alarm would go off.
Does it go off in the unit?
It
or
goes
does
off into the unit.
And so
Yeah.
then that person, what does that person do? does
I
it
don't know a
stop?
lot about it right now. I am exploring. I'm sort of just anecdotally talking about some options. But when we go down that road, once we roll this policy out, mail it to every resident, post it on our website, provide signs and smoking shelters and smoking ashtrays, then, you know, that will be part of the enforcement, that we will be able to do. I think, you know, I've checked our files we've had through the years, about 7 or 8 residents that we brought to court for smoking violation and no judgment. There's never been a judgment. So I think a lot of authorities are using the smoking machine and finding that they are successful in court to receive a judgment. It's not my intention to evict people, it's just to help them to control their behavior.
Right.
We do get a lot of complaints from residents. They go to the public health department about people that are smoking, and it is a nuisance. It's a huge nuisance. So with our new buildings, you know, we don't want that behavior to continue, I think. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions for Cheryl on the policy before we bring it to a vote?
I don't know if it's worth a vote right now. She hasn't worked out, you know, all of the logistics.
Although the logistics to be worked out are the enforcement piece of it, which won't go into a policy. Did you have, you know, was there another concern about logistics that need to be worked out?
Well, as you said, Cheryl, there's never been a conviction or a eviction, if you will. And from where I said, I really don't think there ever will be because of the addiction aspects of it. But, you know, trust me, I gave up smoking 24 years ago. And
Yeah.
I know and I understand how hard it is for people. Because you're only really going to do it if you want to, like any addiction. And smoking, they say, is probably the hardest, but I don't know if it's worth a vote right now. I would ask my members to chime in here.
The policy has been vetted by the board, by the RAB board and resident leaders. I've had meetings with residents here at Linden Chambers, residents at Seabeds Way. I've sent the policy electronically to residents to ask for their comment on it. It's not that we're telling people you can't smoke, you just can't smoke in the building. And that's the piece that's most concerning to me, because nowhere anywhere can you smoke in a building. And the fact that our residents continue to do that at an alarming rate, and that is very harmful to other residents, is my motivation. You know, as I said earlier, we get a lot of emails from the public health department on our inability to enforce the lease.
Maybe I could
And
jump
it is
in
a
on that.
lease
Violation.
violation.
Let me jump in and address your question, Janice, because it's the kind of thing that that I've now got myself, dragged into, not because Cheryl isn't doing everything she can, but the public health department has the Board of Health have a responsibility.
Yeah.
To every time somebody makes a complaint, every time somebody, and then they have to trigger a process, and they're trying to work as closely as possible with us. But they start escalating it. And what I've learned about this is there is no one trick or technique or policy or something that addresses it. It's very different for different folks, is what I've learned. But one thing you have to do is have a very clear, unambiguous policy and have it in place and publicize it. And sometimes that's enough for some residents, but not, as you say, for others, because of the addictive nature of the nicotine here. And sometimes the public health department has an ability to find somebody, not just us, but any apartment building where that would be an issue. And sometimes it is the smoke detector machine, and sometimes it's just the threat of going to the court. Sometimes it's being brought to Cheryl's office and the Stern talking to, and it works. And other times it doesn't work. And sometimes just being asked to come in, they have the power to ask the person to come in to the public health director's office
Yeah.
and have a talking to. Sometimes that's what works. And sometimes it's a fine that they do it. And occasionally, but hopefully you never get there, you know, the threat of being evicted for a lease violation. And so I would be strongly in favor of approving this, not complete answer, but tool in the housing authority's toolbox. And helping Cheryl, if she's recommending that we approve it tonight.
I agree.
And then we have to sort of sit back as commissioners.
Oh, okay, okay, Rach. Well, listen, I was on that rep board and we did discuss the smoking policy. And I
Mhm.
was on board with it, but I also suggested that we bring in a smoking cessation program to the community rooms for the people to at least try. Has any of that been established?
That's one of so the first is a notice to residents, and then the second, that policy, it's in your red line version, but Jonathan had suggested I take out the enforcement, and that was part of the enforcement piece, was to give them the educational materials to do the smoking cessation program, and give them information about that.
Well, if you're not gonna give them the information, I'm not gonna support the program.
And I do want to point out that we can be charged $1,000 a day for every day that this nuisance continues by the Board of
Well,
Health.
why isn't the public health offering the smoking cessation? I just don't get it.
I don't know, you should call them up and ask them to help us with that.
No, that's not my job. I believe in smoking cessation. I've done it.
But Janice, I do believe, I'm not saying that we're not going to do the smoking cessation. My goal and my philosophy is to give the people the information that they need to understand what they're doing to themselves. I was listening to a program on WBZ one night, and the gentleman was talking about how our lungs are designed and that they're not designed to take anything in but air. And when you take in other toxins, how it affects the entire body. These are things that I'm starting to gather to share with people, not just to say, don't smoke in the building, but to share with them the information that if it's fascinating to me, I'm sure it's going to be fascinating to somebody else, aside from the don't smoke, no smoke.
But
So
wouldn't that be part of a cessation program?
I think that would be a part of the education about what smoking does to your lungs, but I never heard it from this point of view that the doctor was speaking about. And I thought, gee, if people looked at it from that
Right.
point of view,
Well,
maybe
the
they would
cilia
think
that's in
about
the
it.
lung
Yeah.
Falls
what's-
down dead once
yeah.
you get nicotine.
So,
there.
so.
And I'm gonna go, they have an on-demand list, WBZ, and you can go in and look at past,
So-
Cyril,
uh,
I looked at it from that point of view 25 years ago. And what I want to bring to the table today is the air quality just outside, never mind smoking or any of this. The air quality is terrible for anybody breathing air today. But I still say the policy needs some work. If you're willing to go a little bit further on it, I'd be willing to give you my vote.
Let's see if we can go there, which is, Cheryl, what I hear Janice saying is, can we vote to approve this tonight? And can you make a commitment to come back with some way we're making a smoking cessation program available to any of the offenders? That doesn't mean they're gonna take it up. Some of them don't want to quit, but
what are
but
the education
yeah,
materials.
and with the education materials, sure, Jonathan legally doesn't think that should be in the policy. But you are making that commitment so that we can put that on the agenda next month and talk about what,
Right.
I know there's a ton of stuff
There
available
is.
out there.
I've done a lot of research.
So-
Isn't that
Lunch
part of
issue.
the resident commitment statement, to,
Think to do nothing is not really a good option. But I have done a lot of research with the American Lung Association, and there are other efforts to provide more programming But as Red says, you know, I can look into the smoking cessation program and possibly having that on site for our residents. And ways to pay for those materials should they need them, and other educational tools through the American Lung Association.
So I'm gonna make a motion so we can keep moving along. We still have a long agenda ahead. That the board approve the new smoking policy, non-smoking or smoke-free building policy, I guess this is called. That's in our board packet, and part of the motion with the understanding that the executive director is going to follow up on the doing everything possible to make it a succession
Make it
pro-
work.
available to those residents who are they're struggling, at least making it available, easily available. They may not take it, but it's easily available, and reporting an update on to us next month on that topic. Do I hear a second on it? Okay, we had a dead heat over there, so I award it to Ed. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Cheryl, if you would like me to make it easier, I would gladly look into that program and see if I can make it available for any resident that's willing to do it. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people up there that want to quit, or a lot of people down here.
It's horrible.
I
Yeah,
I'd
it's a
be willing
horrible thing. Strong struggle. So, yes, that's great, Janice.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. We can work together on that. And, my concern also is for the folks that don't smoke, and the secondhand smoke is just
yeah,
really
That's
not
so true. I
pleasant.
can't even visit people that smoke. It sucks.
right. Their whole house smells, I know. So,
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
right.
it's terrible.
Hearing no further discussion, I'm gonna call the vote. Reg Foster says aye.
Ed Scheidler says aye.
Kenny Kirk, I.
Janice Bennett, I.
Thank you. All right, so we have, we're now at 9, I believe, community room and shared space policy draft. So you're just giving us a heads up, is that
Just
right?
giving you a heads up, there's more that needs to go into this policy. I'd like to put more work into the policy, so this really is just a draft. I'll bring another draft to you, for next month's meeting.
I thought it was well done.
Okay.
That was Margarita's policy. She wrote that policy.
All right, so we're at number 10, C10, engagement of Markham LLP. Their
And I read
engagement letter
every single
for,
word of it.
you read it, and so they can do the 2023 audit for High Rock Homes LLC.
Yeah, they've been working already, we've been doing surveys, giving them every, the information they need to begin the process. They haven't actually started the process.
Do you need us to approve this letter or?
No, I
You
just wanted.
An
you to be
information,
aware.
forward information,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
My only question is there, what about Needham Housing Authority? Is there another letter that we haven't got?
No, we haven't gotten an engagement letter for Needham Housing Authority audit yet.
Okay,
It's usually right on the heels of the High Rock.
so maybe next month,
Yeah.
okay, great. All right, number 11, initiative to take High Rock Homes LLC management back in-house.
Yes, this is something that I want to do. I learned recently that we spent almost $100,000 in invoices for the management of High Rock Estates.
Oh.
Or High Rock Estates.
No.
High Rock
No, they're
Homes
homes,
is
homes.
LLC.
20
High Rock Homes LLC.
20 units.
We identify it as High Rock Homes Estates, however, on our books. And it is our site-based Section 8 program managed by NCDF. And
100,000 over what period of time?
for the year,
For
for
1 year.
2023. And
A
it's
lot of
just,
money.
it is a lot of money. We also pay a portion of their salaries for maintenance and administration. We pay for supplies. There's a lot of expenses that go into running the program, but just the $100,000 worth of invoices, that did seem to me pretty, a lot. High Rock, NCDF only manages 12, and 8 are managed by SMOC, and we don't get any invoices from SMOC. So it just seems very expensive to continue to farm that program out. I
Can you
think,
handle it in-house though?
I think we can going forward by it's going to take a 90-day notice, I think, of termination of the agreement. But you're right, Penny, can we handle it? Can our maintenance staff handle it? And that's
And your
something that
staff.
and our staff would like to evaluate as we go forward and report on that to you monthly on what that would look like, should we be able to go that far. And then at some point, we might engage Cambridge Housing Authority in the process of evaluating whether that is going to be a good move for us also. And there's also the resident service piece of the program. So there are, and I have gotten a lot of calls about things that I can't actually address because I'm not the manager of the program. So that's a little concerning as well.
Okay.
And a little bit more backstory. This partly came up from Margaret Moran, who was the consultant in the lead of helping to do the project back in the aughts,
Yeah.
2005, 2008. And she commented one day that we were on another completely different topic having to do with the redevelopment, that it had always been the plan to have NCDF do it for a year or two, because there's turnover of the executive director back then, after that project, and so do it for a year or two and then take it back in-house, and that's the sort of normal thing to do. And periodically that objective has come up every 2 or 3 years, and there's always been something else going on. And Cheryl thinks that we should tackle that for a bunch of different reasons.
I'd like to take control of that,
Right.
yeah.
And that be a very good thing for you to have in your 2024 goals.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that does go into an executive director goal. If you read the job description, it doesn't say anything specifically about something like that.
Yeah.
And I suggested that Cheryl give everybody a heads up this month. And then also, we should say, we have an awful lot of other things going on with the PRI, as everybody knows. And one thing we are considering is, and we've asked Cambridge to submit a proposal for another work order under their intergovernmental management agreement, where they would do the analysis of what it would take and how you would do the transition to bring it back in-house. They haven't given us anything there. But, if we could be doing it for $50,000 a year, then the other 50,000 would become operating surplus that we could be using to fund, other parts of the PRI. And instead it's just going and disappearing into.
So if we could make it work, I'm all for it.
Yeah. And so we'd have an actual plan and transition, and you need this kind of staff. And there's a lot of reporting requirements that come along with it that are different than other reporting requirements. And that all has to be done for that, that mortgage you were just talking about, that comes with a whole passel of reporting requirements. We don't want to default on that. So stay tuned, I think is what
Yes,
you're saying.
Stay
right?
tuned. Every month we'll have it in there with some information about what's happening.
Okay, we're on number 12. So I guess we.
I'm all for back to Thursday and moving the time to.
So let's talk about, anybody disagree with going back to Thursdays? We just hit the wall. Imagine trying to put everything we're talking about here together by the second Thursday.
That was crazy.
Hey, we could have started at 7 o'clock tonight, right?
I know, I'm sorry about that. I had a
Well,
little snap.
And so what would, we can also visit the time starting.
Oh, yeah.
We could start at 5.
Yeah, that would be great.
If Jim becomes the
Jim works out of.
Well,
Works out of his house.
right now, we don't have a gym, and Jim, so, but that's good. We kept presupposing it's gonna be Jim until we, but right now, it's just us, and,
Right.
and,
Well, I'd be on for 5 o'clock.
We're all flexible.
We can
right,
do what we
so-
want right now.
how do you feel about that, Cheryl?
Feel
You're good?
great about that.
Yeah, I think I would, I drag my rear end back at 10 or 11 every night, and this
Yeah.
is my third board meeting this week, so it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, so as of, I don't think we need to vote on this, but I think we are going to move to 5 o'clock, 5 to 7, hopefully be over in time for a late dinner, and, or not so late dinner, depending on how people do that. Okay. All right, so we're on to 12, 13, we've done 13, 13, 14. You just want to let people know that that was in the board packet?
I just wanted to let them know that particularly with Eleanor's departure, the possibility of having a new person coming on board. This could be part of our onboarding procedure, I don't know. But I just wanted to put that in the packet. I found it in my drawer.
Do you want people to take a look at it
I want folks to
and
look
get,
at it.
get it, some comments back to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right, yeah, we haven't looked at it for a couple of years, I think, so. All right,
And then you have.
14, resident service-
14, 15, and 16, which
mhm.
is our resident, we have 3 resident service coordinators.
Amazing Grace.
We are providing great services for our residents. There was a birthday party, I think, here today, or it was at Seabed's Way, so Lori initiated a monthly birthday party, it's just a small group. With a birthday cake and, people will sit around the table and, chat it up. It's a nice little activity and the folks seem to really like it. But anyway, the reports are in your packet and, I love what Elena is doing. We have 25 participants, which was the goal of the program. To have at least 25 when we report on how the self-sufficiency program is doing. And she's there and she's providing a tremendous amount of resources to residents and education. Our staff group will be participating in a investment. There's an investment meeting next month. We're gonna have investment and lunch. So she really is just phenomenal at building the foundation of this program. And as you heard from Liz, she's just doing a great job. I was a little worried about hiring Liz, as she didn't have the experience, but she has hit the ground running and she's working hard and she's enthusiastic. I'm glad that we have her on board. And then I just also wanted to point out that we do have the defibrillators
Mhm.
that have been installed in all of the community rooms. So the one
Nice,
here
nice.
is outside in that hallway there. And all of the staff have taken a CPR course with the Public Health Department and we're all certified.
And they know how to use the defibrillator?
We know how to use the defibrillator, yeah.
It needs to be
So-
done right away.
It has to be done right away.
When
So
there's an issue.
we did an all-day training at the health department at Rosemary. I don't know what they call
The
them.
recreation center.
Yeah, the recreation center. And it was great. It was really very, very informative and very educational. And we all got certificates.
And
Did you learn regular CPR as well?
Yeah. We have these little, in my prior career, had to be certified every year for
Yeah, me
CPR.
too,
So it
and
was-
it changes.
yeah.
It's changed quite a bit since the
Yeah.
last time.
well, the new defibrillators are extremely automated and very
Yeah.
easy to use
Yeah.
once you get over the fear factor of using them.
And it's funny when you say using them, because now I'm thinking in my head, we had this
The old
drill,
one. The old, yeah.
of what to do.
Yeah.
And it's sort of in my head, I'm
But
playing
now
out.
they're very highly, artificial intelligence. They won't work if it isn't indicated. There's another, they have sensors and everything. like
We
that.
actually had a dummy there that we worked on. We had several dummies and we actually used them in the course.
So I'm gonna keep pushing us along
Okay,
here in the
good,
interesting,
good.
I'm looking forward to starting at 5 o'clock and we can have more leisurely discussions. Any other issues of, in walk-on issues or things?
No,
Right.
no, that's it.
So we're
for me.
done. That's good. So now we're on to D, status update, preservation redevelopment initiative. And there is the usual Cambridge monthly report in the back. But I'm just gonna highlight some things that happened since our last board meeting. And there's a couple of things I'm gonna ask for an approval of as we go along here in context. So since the 14th of December was our last get together. The things are really cranking up for the Linden Street redevelopment project. We had didn't even stop over the holiday break. We got a notice from DHCD or EOHLC that our $15 million PHI, Public Housing Innovations grant request that we had approved, and we don't have the minutes, those are the minutes we don't have yet, was premature and was being postponed until next fall. And there was sort of the first paragraph that was sort of saying, sorry, you just aren't ripe enough here. And then 3 or 4 more paragraphs I sent around to the board, which could only be read as encouraging us not to give up and telling us that we had a very good proposal, et cetera, et cetera. So I took that as a good sign. That came from Ben Stone, senior director there. Then, you know, we still haven't gotten to January 1st, and there was a major
Excuse me,
effort.
Fred, point of
Yeah.
order. Does that mean we're gonna have a better shot coming up this year later on?
Yes, well, I don't know if it's better or worse, but it certainly, if you read those highlighted paragraphs, they were saying, you have a great project and, you know, and just, you know, don't be discouraged and, you know, it just isn't the right timing to do this winter cycle. We want you to do the next, you know, start next fall and do the fall 2025 winter cycle here.
And
that's where we go ask for all the other money too. We
I
want
just
to
bring
ask for
that,
all the money at the same time.
I'm bringing that up because of Maura Haley's speech last night. Because she
Yeah,
seemed like
so-
totally on board.
Did you listen to that? And
Oh, that was incredible. she was
tell us a little bit about it then, you know, because I haven't listened to it yet, but what did she say?
Housing.
Okay.
And she wants
That's a
to
lot
shut
of-
down, talking about the school shutdowns and turning them into housing. So,
This is great. So, yeah, and so it's really important that bill, it's a heavy lift to get that bill approved because it's a lot of money, $4 billion.
yeah,
But, you know, our timing could be quite fortuitous because of that.
Yeah.
You know, and, so, there was only $50 million available this winter that we were going for.
Mhm.
They were gonna split it amongst 3 projects. So, you know, the competition would be fierce this
Mhm.
winter anyway. So, at any rate, so that wasn't all that was going on. Our consultant team and volunteers worked, you know, to get a 40-page Q&A document, which you all have a copy of, to the CPC by January 1st. Why they have that deadline, I do not know, but it was January 1st, 2024. And that's been sent to the CPC. That is really well done. It explains anything and everything anybody ever wanted to know. It even has a glossary at the end, you know, for all those acronyms and strange terms that most ordinary people don't know what they mean. And then then right on Tuesday the 2nd, you know, at 7 o'clock, the planning board met and they said, you know what, I think we've almost got the final wording on the zoning articles. and they met on the 2nd and the 16th, and they officially approved the zoning warrant articles that we need for Linden Chambers. And they are now back on the way to officially to the select board for the 23rd meeting at the select board meeting. And they have to approve it. And then the hearing, they go into the formal public hearing process where they put notices in the papers and all that sort of thing. And that's on the 27th of February.
Wow.
So that one's sort of tucked away. And then one of the things that happened at the select board is there's been a big debate as to whether the town wants to continue restricting the use of this 11 acres of land over here to affordable housing for the elderly and disabled, which is in all the deeds and land grants and everything else, or whether they wanted to just have it be for affordable housing, you know, according to the official definition, but not have the elderly and disabled. And on the recommendation of our consultants, the housing authority has been taking the position that says you don't need the elderly and disabled. You don't know, you know, for 100 years into the future how things are going to change. And then Cheryl pointed out that we have, you know, maybe once a year, maybe more, but we have a situation where some person becomes overhoused in a family unit, a 2 or 3 bedroom unit, needs to downsize to a 1 bedroom unit, but we don't have 1 bedroom units for them because maybe their kids went, you know, off to their young adult lives and they're 50 years old, but they're not 55 years old, so they don't qualify for any of the 1 bedroom units that we have available. And so after discussing that for 2 months, the select board, the planning board said, well, let's formally ask the select board what they think. And the select board got back to the planning board with a letter saying, you know, we're just fine with, I brought copies here. It came out on the 10th. We're just fine with there being no elderly and disabled. And oh, by the way, we really want the project to happen as well. So that was an input to the select board, the planning board. Janice, I'll send you a copy of this tomorrow here. So let me make a note so I don't forget.
Thank you.
But it's another sign of, you know, strong support. This letter could not be more supportive here. And this was approved by the planning select board 5-0. Okay, and then, so we're, yesterday, so that's Tuesday, this week, the planning board made their final decision. Bob Smart, by the way, is our attorney.
Hero.
And he's just gifted in this area. He's practiced before the planning board for many, many moons. And he's ready, you know, just really helped in many, many different ways, providing advice. He's also a long-term town meeting member. So he's providing really great advice on how we get this thing over the finish line here. So that was Tuesday this week. Then Wednesday, which was yesterday, the finance committee had invited us after, you know, to come make a preliminary presentation to them because it's such a big deal. They're not formally considering this until the end of March or early April is when they formally weigh in on the, they get a chance to formally comment on all meetings, all articles that go before town meeting that have anything to do with money. And they often comment negatively. They have very high standards and very concerned about the town budget and making sure that we don't get overextended. Penny and Ed attended. How would you characterize the meeting last night?
I thought an excellent meeting. A lot of information was presented.
Excellent presentation.
They obviously showed interest. The board showed interest and had many prepared questions, which you made a wonderful suggestion on how to address that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was a very positive meeting.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I thought it went well, and, we're on the radar screen, they're in the middle of budget season. They never schedule anything else, because they have so much to do to get the budget ready for town meeting. Guess what? It was the school committee, or Dan Gutentag was there with all his old crew, staff, waiting for us to we were put in the 7 o'clock, pole position, the slot on the agenda, and while they waited for almost an hour while we got through that. So again, I think that's a good sign of positive and supportive interest here, so. So, all right, so, and here we are tonight, so that brings us up. Now, coming up next Wednesday, the 24th, at 7 o'clock is our first big presentation to the CPC. They've got the 40-page Q&A document. They've got another 30-page presentation that's in their packet right now going out to them. And that's for the $5.5 million that we're asking of CPA funds. They are the gatekeeper on that. They have the sole responsibility in town to either recommend that go forward or not. So that's a, very, very key presentation. So, so let's go back to the agenda here. Where'd it go? So, I lost my agenda. No, I got notes on it here. Just gotten buried. Here it is. Sorry. So now we come to review and approve the Linden Street Bridge conveyance request. So we're still on Linden Street redevelopment here. So this has come up in some of our later trainings, but not recently. There is a provision of Chapter 149, which is the procurement chapter that says that state agencies and municipalities have to use something called prevailing wages, which makes projects 30 or 40% more expensive. And they said that you also have to use a certain set of procedures called filed subbids for signing up subcontractors that also adds 30 or 40% expenses there. And there is a reform of that was passed last year that said if you transfer the property involved, and that in this case we're talking about the 11 acres of Linden Chambers property here, to a LLC, which is a private sector entity. And so the LLC would have 100% ownership of this this property, this land. And NHA, the municipal entity to which Chapter 149 applies, has 100% ownership of the LLC, then you don't have to do filed subbids anymore. And that's what those 3 pages of letters and those regulations that I sent you say in the yellow highlighted sections. And so our Cambridge consultants have said time has come to make a request for DHCD or EOHLC to approve that transfer. This doesn't change the fact that the Housing Authority owns 100% of the land and all the buildings on it right now. Indirectly, it's just we own the LLC 100%. The LLC owns this, development. And so technically we don't have to come to the board for a vote on this, but I told, since this is subject to misinterpretation, I wanted the board members to know about this, and I wanted to have a board vote on this so I could put that in the letter as well. It's not in the current draft of the letter because it's not required. Because again, we're not changing anything about the actual ownership, but I do think it's a board sort of, more than a board information item here. So I just also chose not to have Cambridge Housing Authority here tonight. Because we had already had two meetings earlier this week and, we're burning a lot of consulting dollars. But if the board is comfortable with what I sent out and, I'd like to I will make a motion myself and ask for a board vote approving the executive director and the chair to, there's still some more editing that needs to go to this letter from the lawyers and so forth, but send out a letter requesting DHCD to get back to us to approve this. And, you never know how long it's gonna take DHCD to get back to us. It could be quickly, it could be a month or two or three. This is something that needs to be in place by next fall. When we go into that critical one-stop funding application process. So any questions or concerns or thoughts about
No,
what we're talking about here?
certainly,
If that was a motion, I'll second it, Rich.
brilliant idea.
Okay, so I make a motion, that the NHA Board of Commissioners, authorize, the chair and the executive director, to finalize the wording on this, letter and send it into DHCD or EOHLC.
Executive Office of
Re-
Housing and
re-
Livable Communities.
Requesting permission to or approval to do this transfer as articulated in public housing notice, whatever it is, 2023-2023-04. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Second from Janice. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, oh, no, can't do that. Call the roll. Reg Foster says aye.
Ed Scheidler says aye.
Penny Kirk, aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Okay, so now that's Linden Chambers. That's the longest one of these things. Oh, one more Linden Chambers thing that I didn't make, it isn't explicitly on the list. So our next funding application is coming up. It's for what's called home funds. Some of you know about the home program. It's a funding program for municipalities and states. It's a federal program. The
Is that
deadline
the
is like
HONE?
HOM as in Mary E.
Oh,
So,
home,
um,
okay.
it's, if any of these presentations, if you look at, get a copy of the presentation, the one we just gave, I've just got the one that we gave to the finance committee tomorrow. We're expecting to get $750,000 out of that program. And the deadline is coming in mid-February for submitting against this year. And so home is, yeah,
It's not on the agenda.
yeah, no, it's not on the agenda. Fun, you can look it up if anybody wants. I can send out a link to that. But it's money. 750,000 is of what we need for, the so-called financial layer cake. Application can't go in without a board vote. So looking at the schedule of the week before, Tuesday, the 6th of February seems to be the only date that works, because the CPC is meeting on the 5th and the 7th is too late. No, the 7th is something else there. So could you pencil that in to your diaries, and shall we do it at 5 o'clock? Is our new go-to time? It'll be a
Yep.
single issue,
Special meeting.
special board meeting here. Okay,
Is that on the 6th?
on the
Thursday.
5th,
Fifth.
6th, Tuesday, the 6th, 5 PM,
Okay.
6.
Yes, I am.
6th at
Okay.
5.
Yep. All right, now we're done with Linden Chambers. And next is Seabeds and Cook. So that project is not as intense, I would say. Cheryl and I, remember Cheryl's got 3 standing meetings this week, every week on these projects. And And so this is at the stage where they're finally, they go through all the property conditions reports that were done this time last year, confirming it, and they're now just finalizing that. Right now it's adding up to $30 million worth of modernization improvements in terms of construction costs. Then we have to see where we're gonna find the money for that. And then they're also finalizing the master plan. So what is the master plan? Remember we were going to thinking about building a sort of 61 unit elderly building sort of on the berm and so forth.
Right.
Well, we're now 6 iterations down the road on that. And Janice, I'll send this to you as well. And I don't even know if we had a chance. My printer is not working, so the colors are kind of wild up. So we're at sort of iteration 6. And that's 2-sided, by the way. And here you go, Janice. Yeah, I'll do it up here.
Thank you, Cheryl.
For various reasons that we won't go in, obviously we'll be, checking in with the board at this point, at some point here. But that design is not holding up under the scrutiny of a really professional, serious architecture team. And right now, if we did want to expand this property, do you have one here? Yeah, I got one for Ed. If you want to expand the property, this is sort of the latest of 6 different different alternatives. And part of what we're looking at is maybe we don't want to add more senior units because we're adding so many down here at Linden Street and Chambers. And then in some ways, the location is better for seniors down here. Maybe we want to consider adding more family units up there. And so all that's sort of being looked at,
Combine all the family.
I'd like to point out that, we can't import kids from High Rock.
No, yeah, no,
Because we are not licensed.
Because of
I
the
did-
EG will
give
open door.
people advice on that, because it is a drop-in program and
Yeah.
they should be able to.
So they
leave
have
when
to
they
be able
want
to
to.
go home.
Yeah.
So if you were to move families over to the berm,
Right.
you'd make much better use of the after-school.
And
program
they've
now.
looked at things like, well, what, if we all of a sudden can do the Chambers and we have another 109 senior units, hey, do we really want to use seabeds for senior units, or could they be 1-bedroom family units? And the answer is yes. That they're just the standard, they're almost identically sized 1-bedroom apartments as the ones we're building that down here. And in fact,
How can you
that.
have one bedroom and have a dorm?
Well, you don't have to, a family unit can be a couple without kids, in other words, or, it can be a single person, it can be a divorced person. In other words, but people who don't qualify for 2 bedrooms, but are qualifying for affordable housing, maybe that's an option as well. The reason this is being done is once you do, and I wanted to start educating the board on this. Once you lock in what you're doing in terms of the modernization, it goes into with these tax credit funding, it goes into 15 years of it. It's got to stay that way and nothing changes forever unless you define a carve out where you can add more units sometime during that 15-year period. If you don't define what that carve out is in advance, or at least the footprint of that carve out, then you're locked out from doing any redevelopment of seabeds and Cook, that 10 acres, there's actually 11 acres up there, until the tax credit period is over. So
Can I
at
just-
some point,
Can I
yeah,
just make a
go
point?
ahead.
You Reg, I agree with what you said. Penny had mentioned that to me a few weeks ago about possibly having the seniors basically across town and families over this way. It would be a greater thing for the community room and the after-school program. But I just want to say, I think the whole housing policy has to be rewritten because of the fact that a lot of people really are getting married today, and there are families. I'm going into the LGBTQ community right now
Mhm.
because we have to do that, and I don't know if, I don't say that they would be qualified as a
Hmm.
disability, but some of them may qualify for family housing, so we may have to look in that direction. So, and redo some of the policies.
You know, absolutely, and again, what you're seeing here is totally hypothetical, because we won't be getting to this for many years. We won't be here. None of us here will be on the board back there. What we're trying to do is try to create flexibility and options for our successors.
Mhm.
Because what I think we're gonna wind up doing is we're gonna be doing for next 3 or 4 years, it'll be Linden Street redevelopment. And then we're probably gonna go to High Rock next, you know, and do those 60 units there. And somewhere in there, we may be doing Chambers Street, and we won't be getting around to doing this until 10 years in the future. So all we're trying to do is and I'll hold this up here for low tech here for you. So where they have these 2 orange buildings here,
Yeah.
you have to sort of legally carve that out and say NHA still has the right to do a redevelopment in that carve out area. And, you know, otherwise it'll be blocked. Once the investors lock everything in, they don't like changes at all. They don't want it, you know, they won't let it happen. So I thought that would be worth a little detour tonight to let people know that that was happening here. Okay, development partner agreement. That is going along, and there's nothing to report by way of details, or no reason to have an executive session about anything. We did postpone our board training, and I just wanted to put it in context, which is it's not particularly that anything has gone wrong, but it's just taking longer. And the decision is not to have the board training until we're pretty close to needing to make some decisions, because, you know, training has a half-life. If we did it in January, we're not actually doing something until March, you know, people kind of forget things here. So, on the current schedule, the next earliest possible board training date is Wednesday, February 21st. So, you know, just heads up, that would be 2 hours, probably during the day. But nothing definite about that yet. The second thing that's come up, and this is advice from Teresa Santa Lucia, our attorney, and some other quarters, have said that it would be useful for me and Cheryl on the point, and then for the negotiating steering committee to have one more increment of what we're calling sort of business advisor or coach. That, you know, certainly Teresa knows about all this, but she's really doing, and Klein Hornig does all the legal, you know, drafting and legal advice and legal terms advice. And there is just, you know, trade-offs, like what's the fair split of the development fee, developer fee between us and Cambridge Housing Authority, the developer, and other things that are sort of business terms. And recommended that we, over the break, look for somebody who could be available in this time frame here, and would have the knowledge to be able to help us out. And so we did that. And one of the persons I'd run across in training capacity, Vinny Viola, where I sent out his resume here, and I brought copies here.
It's in the packet.
It's in the packet, yeah, but I just, and, yeah. And, so I interviewed him, and he was available. I've taken 3 of his trainings on low-income housing tax credits. I do want to pass this out because I didn't send this out. The 3rd page is a list of all the training he does. And he, and Janice, I'll send you this extra page out here as well. You know, he basically started at the HCD and then had a 10 or 15-year career with Boston Financial, doing these sort of, you know, and then Wynn Residential, which is one of the big affordable housing developers, and at Boston Capital. And then he was at Madison Park Development Corporation for 3 or 4 years. And but on the side, he has his Birch Island Consulting, and he every week or two he does a training in this area. And you know, and he, you know, he's a very good teacher. He's a good bedside manner, you know, he can explain things to you and so forth. So I said, you know, would you be available for a very small consulting agreement? $9,000, you know, would be the ceiling on it. So that would be 60 hours of time at $150 an hour. And he said he would. And I said, well, that's good, because I've got a board meeting coming up here in a couple of days, and I'd like to run it by the board and see if they're all comfortable with us doing that. So any comments or questions about that from the board?
Yeah, can you give us an overview of what we're gonna be going over, Rich, other than, you know, the basics?
So he actually, this is to advise Cheryl, the executive director, and Red's the chair, and then the negotiating committee, when we get to, you know, Cambridge proposes a 90-10% split of, you know, something, and we think we ought to do a 70-30% that's split. You know, what's the right answer, given the risks and the rewards, and all the other elements of the, you know, business deal that is being put together? That we needed an additional input that wasn't, not that it, you know, Teresa Santa Lucia and Klein and Horny aren't familiar with those things, but their primary thing is legal terms, you know, and you know, limits of liability and guarantees and so forth and so on. And she said there's sort of a missing element that we have here. And she's saying that really to Cheryl and myself and the steering committee. And, you know, remember, the steering committee has Jonathan Driscoll on it. It has Eleanor on it. She's still you know, serving on that. We've met a couple times, but that sort of having, you know, knowing what the fair and proper business terms and the trade-offs that one should be giving in on, and the trade-offs that one should be standing firm on, she felt that we would be, you know, for expenditure of a little bit more of consulting dollars, we would be in good shape. To your question, Janice, we were also planning to use Teresa Santa Lucia for training the board. But she charges $500 an hour, you know, being a lawyer, and doesn't do this sort of training. You know, she does legal deals, but Vinny Viola does, you know, training all year for several years, and he charges $150 an hour, or maybe some of his training material that he already has can just be adapted. So I just took a training from him today with 30 other people on a webinar on partnership agreements for tax credit deals. $150 is a charge for 2-hour training. So it just seems like he's got the skill set and to do the, you know, actually what we need maybe better than Teresa can do. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Teresa. You know, she's obviously incredibly experienced and very, very good communicator, but that's the thinking. And
Definitely
yes,
go
and,
with the lower
and-
amount.
yeah, there's that. And then the other thing is, yes, Janice, I've actually created a first draft of an outline for the training, because, you know, we've had a lot of training already. So there's no point repeating the, you know, the stuff we've already done a few times with Cambridge. And when we get a second draft of that, I'll send it around to the board for comment as well, in terms of, you know, what it would cover. So,
Okay,
and of course, Vinny Viola, if we hire him, will also weigh in based on his experience from doing probably a dozen to 15 training webinars per year for the last few years, so. And you can go see what those are if you just go to his website, too, that, they're right there to be looked at.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
So, hearing no other, discussion, I make a motion that we engage, Birch Island LLC, I think is what he calls himself here. And
Birch
Vinnie
Island
Viola
State
to
Consulting.
be our, to basically, you'll see on the second page there is the scope of services. That is in the current draft of this contract. Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Second from Ed Scheidler. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk, aye.
Janice Bennett, aye.
And it passes unanimously. Okay, I think we've done that. So we're on D4. We've done that. Future town meetings here. D5 CHA monthly report. Does anybody have any other questions?
No.
No. And D6, that we are finally making some progress on the PRI budget. Another thing that had a little bit of elbow grease over the last 3 or 4 weeks holiday period. And we had we're expecting to bring it to the board at our February meeting. There's a lot of new things to reflect in it. And no catastrophes that I've noticed in it so far, but we need to make sure that we don't get ahead of our skis, I think. Sometimes they say in that that area. So that's the end of that report. We are now status update, internal initiatives, paving project.
So the paving project is registered at the Central Register. It will go out to bid in February, by February 17th. There'll be a pre-bid meeting, I think it's called, the end of January. Again, the project will go out to bid February. This is the paving project for Captain Robert Cook Drive and Seabed's Way. Alan and Major is the architect / engineer in charge of this project. It's a capital fund project, and it's so far it may be priced at $498,000. Yeah,
498,
close to 500K.
500K, okay.
So that's on its way. Unit 42, Captain Robert Cook Drive looks lovely. It's just about finished. Work there. We had to pull a permit to put the wall back up by the laundry and washer and dryer hookup. But our staff has been in there. We have a private contractor in there. We have a plumber in there. We have an electrician in there. I'm trying to keep track of
It's
much
been
it
a
costs.
long time coming.
Yeah, how much it costs to bring this unit back online. It's quite expensive. Cabinets have been installed. And I think as we speak, the plumber has hooked up the sink and the stovetop in the wall. No, that's the electrician, the wall oven. So this project is moving along very nicely. It's amazing what it looks like in there. It's quite beautiful.
Can I ask a maybe dumb question?
Sure.
Is there an opportunity for positive publicity for us when we actually get it done? Like, should we do like a ribbon cutting or something, and just take a photograph and, I mean, it's only one unit, I realize, but.
I
it's
don't think
a
so, Rich.
bedroom unit. No?
I'm not sure. Some things I'm not doing to
Yeah.
cover costs, which is painting the ceilings and.
Never mind. If
Floor.
it's not a good idea, night is late.
But,
Would have to do it for one, would have to do it for all.
I will bring you a report on how much it has cost the authority
All
to
right.
bring it back online
Well, it's probably cheaper than a 1-bedroom apartment in the new Linden Street building. I will say that.
to construct that bill. Oh,
Because we're
that's a
thinking,
good
think
point.
of those, those are costing us $550 a square foot.
yeah,
So.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
School.
So
Cheryl,
you can
I wanted
multiply
to
that.
bring- Cheryl, I
So-
wanted to bring up one thing that's not on the agenda. It hasn't been on the agenda for a while. And I'm probably thinking it's because for the betterment of the program, where are the cameras? For Captain Robert Cook
What-
and
You know,
Seabeds.
she reported on that a month or two ago.
Yeah.
Go ahead again.
We lost that grant. The grant was, we didn't, procure that grant in the time frame.
In the time
So the
frame. That's
state-
what I was gonna say. Did we lose it because of, you didn't use it in time, so. Okay,
It was taken back by HUD.
can we reapply at some point?
Yes, we can, I think that's a 2-year kind of wait until you apply again, but we can reapply.
Yeah, so
Okay.
there was Cheryl did a last minute Hail Mary, tried to get them to, and even drag me into the final meeting, and
tried.
we, did everything but yell at them. We cried, we, begged, we,
I
promised our
really want
our
kids.
second born kids and, none of it worked here.
So it's
I
out
want-
for
It was a
both.
it was,
So it was the
It will
same
be-
grant
it-
for
it-
Seabeds and Captain Robert Cook? Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Okay,
But we're gonna include it in the scope of work for the, modernization project. That
Okay,
PhD.
so,
great.
so it went.
and I just wanted to say it probably would have been a waste of time to do it before the repositioning. And,
That's a good- Yeah, that's a good point, the way
Maybe.
they.
so
the camp-
that's fine. Okay, thank you.
But it's gonna get done as part of the repositioning is a high priority, number
Yeah, that
one
would have been the
priority.
best way to go about it anyway, I think, so.
All right, on to new business,
After school program.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
After school program continues to go very nicely. The kids had been on a break. The tutors are on a break until the end of the month. We still continue to just have, the cohort of students in the neighborhood has changed dramatically. So we're trying to extend programming to include middle school and high school students. We spoke with Babson on this, and they have a proposal afoot to bring not only the middle school students, but the elementary school students, but the middle school students as well to the campus to do a tour at the campus and visit a sporting event, participate in a sporting event there. And we're working with the high school to do some work for SAT prep, or tutoring for the high school kids. So, but Sue does a great job. It's an opportunity for the children to come 4 times a week to the program. They read, they do their homework.
We're trying to get them to read.
Well, I think they're still reading. I put in the, Sue actually sent me pictures of kids cuddled up with the tutors in the reading room, reading. And she has shared stories with me on one particular student who was pretty resistant to reading, and they found a graphic novel that she likes to read, and she sort of absorbs it. We meet with Sue once a week on Tuesdays at 1:30 just to find out how we all can do better with and support Sue and support the program. Sue had an appointment this week, I think, on Tuesday with the principal. I don't know if that continued because of the weather. We had that bad weather day on Tuesday. But I'm sure that's if it didn't happen, it will be rescheduled. So it's, it's just a great program.
Well,
great
I
envi-
just want to say, Cheryl, that I think the continued collaboration between principals, Sue, and yourself is the best thing for the program. And I also want to say that the tutors are basically the ones that are responsible for interacting with the students. Whereas Sue just basically, she oversees and takes reports and meets with you. I don't think it's her duty to be interacting with the students except for when it comes to, I don't know, maybe missing informations and whatever information she may need. I don't think she is a one-on-one person with the student unless there's a parent there. I-
The tutors are phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't see what
the
the problem should be if the tutors have the formal orientation. And hopefully there's a good orientation packet for the tutors and what their job entails.
The tutors are phenomenal. There are 4 of them that come regularly.
I have a,
And they meet with 3 students, so they're just phenomenal.
I have a text here from Sue.
Mhm.
I have an appointment with Heather Marsh,
Ah,
the
Heather
assistant principal, on Tuesday at 9. It's
Ah,
January
okay.
16th.
Yeah.
And 2 of the teachers, and then an opportunity to walk through some classes.
Okay, so she was able to keep that appointment on
Well,
the
I don't know if
16th.
she kept it, but
Oh, okay.
that's
Yeah.
what she told me was planned.
Yeah, we did make a decision to close the after-school program that they, as the school department had closed all of their afternoon programming, so we followed suit with that. But the school department has been very supportive of her. Heather Marsh, who had been on maternity leave, is back. She's real, I like her a lot. She's very enthusiastic, very tall, beautiful woman. And really just has great ideas with math and things like that.
I'd like to add
Sure.
that I just finished writing a grant application, to the Needham Ed Foundation.
Wow.
And, I got wonderful letters from Karen Bourne,
Ah.
you, Dan
Superintendent.
Budakans,
Yeah.
Diane Simmons,
Ah, Diane
um,
Simmons.
who else? Really a bunch of very wonderful letters about the after-school
School,
program, so
and-
I can't imagine that they wouldn't be giving. I'm asking for $4,050.
Yeah. And the superintendent had an open house there last year. And he was so impressed with the space. Everyone that comes in there, you know, our architects, they wish they had a place like that in their community. It's a great space, really, it's a
is.
great space.
Yeah,
I'm
It
very.
sure
proud of it.
is.
Yeah, so.
We done with that one? Okay.
Yeah.
well,
Okay.
that 4,050 would provide about 6 enrichment program events
Yeah,
over the next
yeah.
year.
That's great.
Penny did a great pottery program. That was a wonderful program. The kids loved that program. I
And
loved
Dave
the,
Polsky's
the-
still available.
yes, Davis Polanski. We don't have money for him though, but we're gonna get there.
No, you're gonna get the money.
You were gonna
All
get the
you have to do
Yeah.
is ask.
So
Yeah.
did everybody
And he's
notice
great.
in the financial reports, the very last page of the financial report that Cheryl sent out, the November one? It's called
Yeah.
Local Initiative. Because if you didn't look at it, you might want to look at it.
Local initiative, yeah.
So that's
I'm just
a whole,
blank here.
no, you don't have to look at it
You know-
now, just look at it in.
I just want to thank Commissioner Kirk for her time that she spends on writing the grants. And we have a grant program happening this weekend right here in the Linda James Community Room, Steel Band. And that was a grant that Commissioner Kirk wrote.
Good point.
Yeah, so, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. So hopefully my son who's visiting with me will come to that
Hopefully, I
event.
hope so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna come so I can meet.
Well, I
you.
hope,
Yeah.
I'll let you know. I love him and you would love it.
So I think we're on the home stretch at new
Well,
business,
We have one other
which is,
issue. There's a pending motion for a subcommittee for the after-school program. And that I initiated, and I moved that we reschedule that to the February meeting.
okay,
Any
Second,
okay.
Something I just wanna bring up. Can I?
Go
speak?
ahead. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I noticed it's in the packet that myself as a resident commissioner, I'm supposed to report problems. But just let me say, to my commissioners, I'm not going out there looking for problems to report. I'm sorry, I'm just not gonna do that. It's because I feel it's the wrong thing in the job description. for me to be going out there looking for problems. But one has come to my attention, and it's the a snow removal problem with them. Some of we have a lot of new maintenance men, so I can't really blame them. I don't know if there's any blame to go around, but I guess they've been dumping snow on a person's egress, like their back door. You can't do that. She has Meals
that.
on Wheels delivered there. I don't know the person's name. It just has come to my attention. And you can't dump snow at a back door, at somebody's back door. A lot of people use their first floor units. Their back
Sliding
door,
doors.
they don't use them. I mean, they don't use the hallway doors, if you will. They use their back doors, and I guess somebody was dumping snow and they couldn't get their Meals on Wheels. So I want that to stop. Don't put snow in any of the driveways where the residents use their back doors on the lower levels, because ambulance have to get through there as well.
So Cheryl, is that something you can follow up on?
Yes, I can kind of get the address or the resident name or the unit or some more information about where this is happening.
It's on Seabeds. It's the second building in at the end of the fire lane.
So,
On the
great.
right.
So Cheryl, follow up on that. And again, I would just encourage everybody, when anything like that comes up, whoever it is, and that notices something, don't wait until a board meeting, go to Cheryl
We've
right
addressed
away,
this
all right?
4 times already.
All right,
Greg.
so, okay.
Yeah,
So,
so I just want to say, I'm not going out there looking. I'm really not. But if it comes my way, yes, I'm gonna report it and I'm gonna make sure the problem is taken care of, but I'm not going looking. Sorry.
okay, so now are we ready to go to the home stretch and
Yes, please.
F1 and new representative recommendation
Right,
you
so
have?
Ann DeMondorozan was our former Ross coordinator, and she is the Council on Aging, Needham Housing Authority representative.
Yep, we appoint that person, right, under the bylaws? So you're
According
asking
to
us-
their bylaws? or
No,
our
other than
bylaws?
town bylaws.
According to the town bylaws.
So you're asking the board, you're recommending
That the
this,
board,
right?
yes.
And you're recommending that we, take a motion to,
Okay,
designate her our official representative. So any comments or questions on that from board members?
No.
Okay, do I hear a motion from somebody?
I
I
move.
make- Okay.
Penny got there before you. I've got a second from Janice here. You gotta be
Okay.
fast here. Gotta be, it's like Jeopardy. You gotta hit that button right away, so, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a roll vote. Reg Foster says aye.
Ed Scheidler says aye.
Danny Kirk, aye.
Janice Penn votes aye.
Janice? All right, and then, our final item, because, F3 is postponed until next month, is, we have a
F2.
new 2-year contract
yes.
for, Milne and Shaw, Rick Shaw, to be our, fee
Very
accounting
good.
firm.
Very good.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you wanted to tell us
No,
about that?
We have it for the federal program and for the state program. We actually received his first bill today.
I didn't see the state program contract
You
in,
haven't seen it?
in the
board packet?
packet, but the federal one was there.
Oh,
So
okay.
are they pretty much identical?
They're identical. The state program is $825
Mm-hmm.
a month for his services, and the federal program is $1575, and that includes Section 8 and High Rock.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's a total of $2,400 for his monthly fee.
Not bad.
And he does a great job. He's very responsive,
So
very
I
helpful.
I move to accept that contract.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Second by Mr. Scheidler, our treasurer, probably appropriate to second it under the circumstances here, and hearing no further discussion. Reg votes, Foster votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Jenny Kirk, aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
And that is unanimous. And I think we're at the end of our agenda. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I
Second,
move to adjourn.
You have one more thing?
One more thing,
Okay.
and those were the certification pages
Yeah.
that needs to be signed by the board
Mhm.
to be submitted to HLC
Mhm.
for the budget revisions and the operating budget. So we
Okay.
all talked about it at our virtual meeting on the 7th of September, but we didn't actually sign the
But that's not a-
7th of December. We actually did not sign the certification.
But it's
page.
not a vote thing. We've already approved the
We've
budget,
already
right?
approved the budget,
Yeah.
but we have to, now,
Before we walk out, we need to sign.
we gotta sign these certification papers
So we
so that
can,
I can send them on.
all right,
to,
so,
Oh,
we have a motion and a second, for adjourning. Reg Foster votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Jenny Kirk, aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Reluctantly votes aye, and the meeting is concluded. Thank you, everybody. Sorry about it being a half an hour later than it should have been, but hopefully we'll work out our tech support glitches for next meeting here. Have a nice evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Are you sending forms down?